Space is violent, really violent. And today we're counting down the 8 coolest collisions that have ever happened out there. Some were caught on camera, some were predicted years in advance, and one of them literally created the moon you see in the sky tonight. Let's get into it. Number 8, Deep Impact. NASA's deliberate comet strike, 2005. NASA basically said, hey, what if we just threw something really heavy at a comet and watched what happens? So they built a spacecraft, flew it 268 million miles through space, and then dropped an 820-pound copper block directly into the path of Comet Tempel 1. The whole thing took about 6 months to get there, and on July 4th, 2005, that copper impactor slammed into the comet at 23,000 miles per hour. The energy released was equal to about 4.8 tons of TNT going off all at once. Now, here's the crazy part. Scientists thought they were going to see ice and rock flying everywhere. What they actually saw was this massive cloud of fine powder shooting out into space. The comet was way dustier than anyone expected. It was more like talcum powder than beach sand. The whole thing was so bright and so dusty that the spacecraft flying nearby could not even see the crater it made. They had to wait 6 years and send another mission just to photograph the hole. Turns out, the crater was about 500 feet wide, which is roughly the size of a football stadium and a half. Number 7, China's anti-satellite weapon test, a million pieces of debris, 2007. In 2007, China decided to test an anti-satellite weapon by blowing up one of their own old weather satellites called Fangyun 1C. The satellite was orbiting about 530 miles above Earth when a missile slammed into it going thousands of miles per hour. And just like that, one satellite became over 3,500 trackable pieces of debris. But wait, it gets worse. Those 3,500 pieces are just the ones big enough to track. Scientists estimate the actual number of fragments, including the tiny ones, is somewhere around 1 million pieces. Here's why this matters to you personally. That debris is still up there. Right now, as you watch this video, pieces of that blown-up Chinese satellite are whipping around Earth at 17,000 miles per hour. At that speed, even a paint chip can punch through metal. The International Space Station has had to dodge this debris multiple times. Some of those fragments will stay in orbit for hundreds of years. So yeah, one missile test in 2007 created a problem that your grandkids will still be dealing with. Number 6, the Mir collision, 24 minutes of air left in 1997. This is one serious nail-biter because it almost killed 3 astronauts. June 25th, 1997, the Russian space station Mir is orbiting Earth. An unmanned cargo ship called Progress is approaching for a docking test. Commander Vasily Sibliev is controlling the Progress remotely, trying to guide it in using a video feed and a joystick. Something goes wrong. The cargo ship comes in way too fast. Sibliev can't stop it. The 7,200-pound Progress slams into one of the station modules called Spectre, smashing through a solar panel and punching a hole in the hull. American astronaut Mike Foale feels the whole station shudder. Alarm starts screaming. The air is hissing out into space. Foale runs to the escape pod, a Soyuz capsule, and waits for the 2 Russian cosmonauts to join him. They don't show up. He goes back to find them frantically trying to cut power cables so they can seal the damaged module. Every cable they cut is killing more of the station's electrical power. The pressure's dropping. They had about 24 minutes of breathable air left. They managed to seal the hatch. The station stabilized, but Mir lost half its electrical power that day, and the crew spent months trying to keep everything running on emergency mode. One of the closest calls in the history of human spaceflight, and it happened because a cargo ship came in a little too hot. 3 people almost died in orbit because of a failed braking command. Number 5, Iridium-33 versus Cosmos 2251, the first accidental satellite crash, 2009. This is the first accidental crash between 2 working satellites, and it happened in 2009. On one side, you had Iridium-33, a working American communications satellite. On the other side, Cosmos 2251, a dead Russian military satellite that had been drifting up there since 1995. Neither one could get out of the way. February 10th, 2009, about 490 miles above Siberia, the 2 satellites hit each other going 26,000 miles per hour. Both of them were completely destroyed. collision created over 2,300 pieces of trackable debris, plus thousands more tiny fragments too small to see. Some of that debris passed within 400 feet of the International Space Station in 2012. The astronauts had to hide in escape pods just in case. And here's the thing that should worry you. There are over 11,800 satellites in orbit right now, and most of them belong to Starlink. The more stuff you put up there, the more likely collisions become. Scientists call this the Kessler syndrome, named after the NASA guy who figured it out back in 1978. The idea is simple. At some point, there's so much junk in orbit that collisions start causing more collisions, which cause more collisions, until certain orbits become completely unusable. Some researchers think we may already be past that point. Number 4, DART mission, humanity's first planetary defense test 2022. This one gets fun because it's something we did on purpose. September 2022, NASA's DART mission, which stands for Double Asteroid Redirection Test, deliberately crashed a spacecraft into an asteroid named Dimorphos. The whole point was to see if we could actually push an asteroid off course by hitting it really hard. Dimorphos is about 525 feet wide, roughly the size of the Great Pyramid in Egypt. It orbits a bigger asteroid called Didymos. NASA aimed a 1,340-pound spacecraft at this thing and let it fly at 14,000 miles per hour. On September 26th, it hit. Scientists back on Earth cheered. The Italian CubeSat flying nearby captured images of the impact and the huge cloud of debris shooting off into space. But did it actually work? Yes. Before the impact, Dimorphos took 11 hours and 55 minutes to orbit Didymos. After the impact, it only took 11 hours and 23 minutes. NASA shortened the asteroid's orbit by 32 minutes. The minimum goal was 73 seconds. They beat that by more than 25 times. This was humanity's first real planetary defense test. If a killer asteroid ever heads toward Earth, we now know that slamming a spacecraft into it can actually change its course. We went from science fiction to proven science in one afternoon. And the best part? The European Space Agency is sending a mission called Hera to visit Dimorphos in 2026 to study the crater up close and measure exactly how much damage was caused. Number 3, Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9, 300 million atomic bombs hit Jupiter, 1994. This takes us all the way back to 1994 and one of the most watched events in astronomy history. Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 was discovered in March 1993 by Eugene and Carolyn Shoemaker and David Levy. When astronomers calculated its orbit, they realized something wild. This comet was on a direct collision course with Jupiter. But here's the crazy twist. Jupiter's gravity had already torn the comet apart back in 1992 when it passed too close. So instead of one comet hitting Jupiter, there would be 21 separate fragments slamming into the planet over 6 days. And, for the first time ever, humans could watch a planetary collision as it happened. July 16th through July 22nd, 1994. Fragment after fragment plunged into Jupiter at 134,000 miles per hour. Each impact created massive fireballs, some of them rising 2,000 miles above the cloud tops. The temperatures hit 53,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The dark scars left behind were bigger than Earth itself and stayed visible for months. The total explosive power was estimated at 300 million atomic bombs. Think about that for a second. Telescope operators around the world stayed up all night watching. Millions of people followed along through news coverage. It was like nothing anyone had ever seen, and it sent a clear message. Collisions this big can happen in our solar system, even in modern times. Jupiter probably saves Earth from impacts like this all the time by sucking up comets and asteroids with its massive gravity. Number 2, the Chicxulub impact, the end of the dinosaurs, 66 million years ago. This is the collision that ended the age of the dinosaurs. About 66 million years ago, an asteroid roughly 10 miles wide came screaming toward Earth at 45,000 miles per hour. It hit the coast of what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula at an angle somewhere between 45 and 60 degrees. The impact released energy equivalent to 100 teratons of TNT, which is about 4.5 billion times more powerful than the Hiroshima atomic bomb. The initial blast vaporized everything nearby. A shock wave of superheated air moving at over 600 miles per hour leveled forest for 900 miles in every direction. A wall of water rushed across the Gulf of Mexico. Rock from the impact turned into glass bullets that rained down across the planet. And then came the darkness. Dust and debris blocked out the sun for nearly 2 years. Temperatures dropped. Plants died. Then the animals that ate the plants died. Then the animals that ate those animals died. About 75% of all species on Earth went extinct, including every dinosaur that wasn't a bird. The crater, now called Chicxulub, is 120 miles wide and 12 miles deep. Scientists found it by looking for weird gravity readings under the jungle. The really scary part? Scientists now believe this asteroid came from beyond Jupiter, from the outer edges of the solar system. It was a type called a carbonaceous chondrite, which is one of the oldest kinds of space rock there is. Something that formed billions of years ago at the cold edge of the solar system eventually wandered inward and changed the entire course of life on Earth forever. Number 1, the Theia impact, the collision that created the moon 4.5 billion years ago. And finally, coming in at number 1, the collision that gave us the moon. About 4.5 billion years ago, when Earth was still a young planet covered in molten rock, something the size of Mars came crashing into it. Scientists call this object Theia, named after the Greek goddess who gave birth to the moon goddess Selene. Theia and the early Earth were probably formed in the same region of the solar system, maybe even sharing similar orbits around the young sun. At some point, gravitational nudges from Venus pushed Theia off course. It swung toward Earth and hit at an oblique angle. The collision was so violent that both planets basically melted together into one. And here's where it gets really amazing. The impact threw a massive ring of debris into orbit around the newly combined Earth. That debris, a mix of material from Theia and from Earth's outer layers, slowly clumped together over a few million years. And when the dust settled, literally, there was the moon we see every night. New computer simulations suggest the moon might have formed even faster than we originally thought, possibly in just a few hours after the impact. The debris didn't slowly gather over centuries. It snapped together almost instantly because so much material was thrown into exactly the right orbit at exactly the right speed. Crazy thing is you can see the evidence every single time you look at moon rocks. The chemical signature of lunar samples matches Earth's outer layers almost perfectly. If Theia had been totally different from Earth, the moon would have a completely different makeup. But the moon and Earth share almost identical oxygen, titanium, and tungsten ratios. Either Theia came from the same cosmic neighborhood as Earth, or the impact mixed everything so thoroughly that the two completely became one.